never slow up, no I don't take sh**. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh**. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh**. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
So welcome to the 10th installment of Introducing, and today we'll be introducing Crew, a team that I'm sure most of you have maybe heard the name of. Of course, they are from LATAM, and they are often the LATAM champions, but not this time. This time they came in second in LATAM, but did manage to beat NIP in the LATAM Brazil qualifier, so they are kind of the third South American team of the teams that are coming to Copenhagen, and that means that they pushed Leviathan into the playoffs straight away, but they will go to the group stage. Now, their Masters 1 performance was a group stage exit, and their expectation this time from me is another group stage exit, unfortunately. Now, that is not because they aren't good enough to get out of the groups. I do think they are playing a lot better than they were coming into Masters 1. So I think they have the potential to get out of groups. The problem is they are in a very difficult group, of course, with both Loud and Optic, and so obviously the two finalists from Masters 1, that's going to be very tough. They're going to have to beat at least one of them at some point, which is, you know, gonna be a big ask, basically. So most likely they will go out in the group stage, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them put up a bit of a fight. Their style is a high fragging power and aggression, as we'll see in some of the clips, and they do have a lot of fragging power. When they're on, they can really, you know, duel with the best of them, but as I've put there, they do have a very difficult group, and so we'll just have to see how they manage to you know, deal with such a difficult task. In terms of the players themselves, we have Klaus, who's the IGL, who plays some Initiators and Viper, as you can see. Delzig is the primary controller player for them. You got Nags, who is another full-time chamber player. This is 3 teams that have this now. Crew, Leviathan. So both LATAM teams have a full-time chamber player, and also, of course, Optic with Ye, always playing chamber. Mazzino is kind of the main initiator, or the more aggressive initiator, you might say, and is very aggressive indeed. And Kesnet is the main duelist for the team as well, who is putting up insane numbers, as you can see right there. And on the whole, their numbers are okay. It was kind of weird where, like, sometimes, like, Nags had a very difficult playoff stage, but had a very good group stage. Some of them were a bit inconsistent, but Kesnet, as you can see, is really been popping off the entire time. When we take a look at some of the clips from Crew, we're going to take a look at the game against NIP, so that the kind of final qualifier between the second best team in Brazil and the second best team from LATAM, and take a look at it. And it starts here on Fracture on the pistol round, and I really quite like this round overall. It starts off with a really interesting idea that they have. So they're on the defensive side, and in tower here, both these players have shorties, right? So what they're going to do is, obviously, one is going to look this way and one is going to look this way, and they're just going to defend tower with a shorty on either side. Really kind of interesting idea overall, but actually NIP do really well, because they do come towards them, and NIP do very well to kind of stop them here. So you see, out goes the molly, picks up the shorty, is ready to defend the tower with his life here, Delzig, but in come NIP, and you see we get a really good breach stun, really good neon stun as well. They get in, they get the first kill. Delzig is able to trade out this first neon, but then obviously has to reload, and then the timing is very good for NIP to come back around and get those kills. So really good start by NIP, but I do like the idea by Crew, even if it didn't work. But now we're going to see a really good retake from these 3 players here, right? So it's still a pistol round, so you don't only have limited amount of utility, right? You don't have everything to play with. There's only 3 players alive, but what they do have, they use very well. So it starts off with this nade here that's gonna you know, Vixen is gonna get the plant down, it is gonna hit him, but then he's forced to jump away and jump out of this smoke straight into the Sage, as you can see here, who has a pretty free kill right there. So the Sage managed to get a kill there, so we end up in a 3v3. Really nice overall. They start to come in towards the site. We're going to get a boombot towards Arcade to clear all this out. So we sent a boombot down here to check if there's people here. You can see we've got the sage wall ready to wall off this other side here. It's a really nice kind of retake here that they do, right? We get a flash coming out from NIP. You can see Kawenzi's on very low HP. We get Kesnit starting to push this, right? We get a really nice breach done. They chase him down. They go as a team. They know he drops down. They get a pretty easy kill right there. Whilst that's going on, because this pressure has been coming in, Shandy has tried to peek up here, but he wasn't ready for the breach to still be here, and so the breach managed to get that kill, collapse there. And then obviously now the sage wall, so the breach was trying to wrap around the other side here for NIP, but you know, it's just too late. And they managed to win a 4v3 retake on pistol round, you know, without any of them dying, because their utility usage was really good. And this is what I would say is good crew, right? They started off with a pretty unique, kind of interesting idea. Even though it didn't work, they had good utility. They had, you know, very good play overall, very coordinated, and you know, it was a very successful round for them. Another example of that came just a bit later here in round number 3, which is obviously their bonus round. So you can see they have 4 Spectres and 1 Vandal. And what they're going to do here is they're going to go for a pinch here towards the north side of the map. Obviously, they don't have the guns in this round. So what they're going to do is just come as a team and kind of attack anyone who's over here. And it is actually just one player. We get this really nice breach done here. And they seem to have a very good idea that Jandy was going to be there, as you could see, because they turned to it straight away. Maybe that was a bit of a VOD review there for them, knowing that that was a likely place for him to be. So they get the first kill, they pick up a gun, right? And at first I was like, oh no, Nags is going to go, you know, way before the team. He's not ready, but he doesn't, right? He stops and waits. They're in a 5v4. And again, this is good crew, right? They're waiting for the team. They're patient. And even though they lose the first kill, right, from now on, every kill is going to be traded. We even get the breach ult that doesn't quite hit. NIP try and kind of take this control back. But out comes Mazzino. He's able to get the first kill. This is obviously a big part of crew, is that, you know, they're all insanely talented with just guns. They managed to get that kill there as well from Delzig, right? And now, even though Mazzino's going to die, they get a kill onto site as well, because very wisely and kind of interestingly, right, that obviously NIP are kind of expecting everyone to be here. The Chambers actually used his TP to get back into here so that he can come through this way. So actually this death here, the KO was completely caught off guard, right? Was trying to come back towards tower to kind of help with the team, but actually someone has come back through kind of spawn way and caused a lot of problems. We end up in a 3v1, and they are going to clean this up as well as Nags finds that shot there. Just again, very solid. They start off with a good idea, it works for them, and they go from there, and they're just able to win fights that maybe, you know, other teams wouldn't be able to. This is kind of how this is what good crew looks like, right? When they have a plan, it works, their utility is pretty good, and then they play as a team, and you know, they have the individual talent as well to be able to win gunfights that other teams might not. And I just want to show you one more round from Fracture as well, which is now on the attacking side, round number 18, where they're gonna have a pretty cool round on the whole, right? So they start off coming towards the north side of the map. As you can see, they start off with some early dish control. This is actually the last round in the game. They get here, they destroy the chamber trap, right? So that was kind of the first mission accomplished, you might say. They've kind of created a bit of chaos. They've taken pretty early control of this area. And so now they actually want to go and decide to come back, but they leave Kesnet, as you can see. He's just posted up here, and he's going to stay here, right? And so they're going to take it a bit slow for a while, right? They're not going to do anything too crazy for a bit. They're just going to kind of hold and eventually start to make their way back across, as you can see, whilst Kesnet just sits here, and they're going to make a play towards arcade, as you can see. So they start to come in towards arcade, and what we're going to get now is the start of kind of what seems to be an execute, right? The Brim ult comes towards tower, and it looks like a lot of pressure is coming in. They get the smokes down in on this site. They start to come in, but then actually the attention is all on Kesnet, because you can see that he now has picked the perfect time to drop out of this smoke, come you know, reveal himself right there as everyone is rotating across. They think it's a different execute. We see Kesnet get one kill there, and he manages to get the second, and so then the Sage actually walls up onto the site, but Mazzino dies, but they make a very good choice here. They try and kind of continue sort of what looks to be more pressure, right, with the breach and whatnot, but actually they're just running away. They bait the KO ult out. Actually, they're just, you know, well, we've got a site, right? We know that Kesnet is just sitting there on a site on his own, so they just decide to run back instead. And again, right, I think that this is crew kind of at their best. They had a plan, they had an idea, it worked, and then they have just the individual skill to be able to make it work from then on, as you will see now, because they do get onto the site, they get the spike down, And now we end up in a 4v3 post-plant. And really, I mean, if you just look at the map, this was never going to go well for NIP at this point. They would have needed a miracle because obviously they're just kind of surrounded, right? They're just kind of entrapped from everywhere. As they push in here, they're kind of just, you know, just destroyed, right? By just too many people to deal with, too many angles to deal with. You can't face all those different directions at once. They gave up too much control, essentially, and this was never going to go well, even though they do actually find the first kill with a good bit of utility. Kaznet does trade it out, but we actually end up in a 2v2. But even at this point, right, it's just so difficult because you have to still deal with both sides. Very, very difficult indeed. Delzig manages to get that one, and then finally what's going to happen is we're going to get the chamber, finally revealing himself Nags, and he manages to find the final kill, and a very nice round overall from Crew. And now I'm going to show you round 4 from Icebox, and we're going to see both good Crew and bad Crew come out in this round, as you'll see. So Crew are actually on a save in this round, right? They lost the bonus, and so it's 3-0, and they're on a save this round. So they don't have guns here. You're not expecting too much from them, but it starts off with this, right? This is something that they can just do, right? This is very good Crew, right? Where Mazzino just hits a shot straight away. And now there's a gun there to be had, right? So they come in towards this B site. They drone out as well to check if anyone else is close. They know that the neon is somewhere about here, but they're just, as a group, they know there's a gun to be retrieved there, and so they start to come in on towards this B site, and they make a bit of progress, and they do actually pick up the gun here with Nags, but he actually manages to get the kill with just the chamber headhunter there. He picks up the gun, but he actually trades it over to Kesnet instead, which again I think is a really good idea. They get the Viper pit down as well. Now they're in a 5v3, all should be well. They are going to make a slight mistake, I think, here in terms of the Viper is going to be the one to plant the spike. I think that when you've got this Viper's pit down, you know, the Viper should never really be in that scenario, because someone, you know, could just push up here and just spam past the wall. So that is, like, you know, maybe a little mistake from them there. Nags is actually going to die here, but we do get a trade coming out from Kesnet, so that's absolutely fine, right? We're in a 4v2, Viper's pit down, all looks well. The Viper, as I said, because, you know, this Viper is a bit more pushed up after planting the spike, does die there, but again, Delzik trades it out. Absolutely fine, right? 3v1 should be very winnable. And up to this point, this has been good Crew. Everything they've done so far in this round has been pretty good. You know, outside of maybe a small mistake of the Viper planting the spike, everything else I can't complain about at all. But they're about to lose this 3v1, right? Because it starts off, and they even have 2 rifles here as well. Delzik's going to try and get back across the team, which isn't a mistake in and of itself, but it is a bit of a risk because that can happen. And Vixen does manage to get that kill, but still, 2v1, they still should be fine. They actually go for the res as well. And Kesnet, I don't know if he's trying to protect this res, or I don't know if he thinks that Vixen might be on the spike or whatnot. But he just taps it, but he just swings out on his own and dies there, unfortunately. And now Delzik doesn't have enough time, and Mazzino even gets lucky to escape as well. And so now in a 1v1, Mazzino only with a Marshall, he kind of panics a bit, runs out, and also dies. So they do lose the 3v1, and this is kind of something that I think sometimes they can do. They can get maybe a bit overeager to take some fights at times. If you watch Leviathan versus Crew on Split, like, that was awful in that game. I will save Crew's blushes by not showing it, because that was kind of just what you just saw there, losing 3v1s, but just all the time, like, you know, just everything going wrong in that game. So they definitely have had some low moments as well, but when they play well, it does look pretty good. So now let's come to their maps, their agents and their eco rounds, and we see that here on their map pool, they've actually had 2 maps where they've only played 1 game, Fracture and Split. They were initially banning a lot of Icebox, but then started winning on Icebox, as you could see, and then moved to banning Fracture. But then after playing Split against Leviathan, I honestly expect them to ban Split from now on, because their Fracture actually, as we saw from some of the clips, looked pretty good, and they had some pretty good ideas. So I expect them to probably ban Split from now on, and as you can see, their map pool, their Ascent is pretty good, but Bind is their home map, right? On Bind, they are really dominating anyone who they play on that map, so that is definitely a favorite for them. Their Breeze is pretty good, their Ascent is pretty good, their Fracture looked pretty good against NIP, so I think it's like an okay map for them overall. Haven is a map where, you know, they can struggle. I think a good Haven team could pick off Crew if you wanted to there, and their Icebox, particularly their attack, is pretty solid as well. Their defense can struggle a bit, as you can see. When it comes to the agents that they like, they definitely do have some favorites. You can see that they are an Omen Omen team over an Astra team overall, and they do like Viper as well, playing pretty heavily on Bind, and obviously Breeze and Icebox as well, and so they definitely do like Viper. Chamber, obviously when we come to the Sentinels, they are the third team that is 100% Chamber, right? Always picking him, never pick Cypher or Killjoy, always in on the Chamber, and they are, as I said, the third team alongside Leviathan and Optic to do that. They do pick a bit of Sage as well, but not a ton. Jet, they are not in on Jet, but they do like Neon and Raze, as you can see here as well. So they are not a massive fan of Jet overall. They actually were picking Neon on Breeze as well, even on that map, but they had gone back to Jet a bit more recently, so maybe we will see more Jet from them overall, but you can see not a massive fan. And when it comes to the initiators here, you can see that Fade, they are a big fan as well. They do like Sova a bit also, and seem to prefer these two agents to the other initiators, who, you know, they don't hate, as you can see, but playing them a bit less than average. And then the pistol and eco rounds, they're winning a very healthy percentage of their pistol rounds, 63%, as you can see, a very healthy number indeed. Their ecos and semi-ecos are pretty good as well, winning 37% of them and only losing 23% of them when they're against them, winning 77% of those rounds against ecos and semi-ecos. And so that is Crew, and will be very interesting to see how they do this time. Obviously, they have the most experience of any team coming into an international LAN, but can they translate that to wins over some of the tournament favorites like Loud and Optic? That is the challenge in front of them. It will be difficult for sure. They have never lost to a Brazilian team, but Loud aren't like any other Brazilian team, so that's going to be a very interesting opening game for them, but we'll have to see how they do.